Welcome into today's video. This is going to be all about viral products that just don't work for me. Some of them, they don't work because they just don't work, you know? It's not like necessarily that they're bad, but then there are some products in here that I just don't think are that great. So this is going to be a video all about hot takes. I tried to scour Sephora's bestsellers. I tried to go to Ulta and see like the things that are kind of top rated. I am obviously going to be missing some things. I don't have like an exhaustive list of everything that's gone viral that just hasn't worked for me, but this is a pretty good set of pretty viral products. Anyway, I thought this would be a really good video. I'm definitely interested to share with you guys. I'm definitely interested to see what you guys have to say in terms of whether or not these products deserve the hype or not. So let's get into it. So let's start off with a couple of skincare items. This is a really popular one. It's the Laneige Sleeping Lip Mask. I know that everybody loves this. It's a super bestseller with Sephora. I hear a lot of people talk about Laneige and just their products in general. I bought this a while ago because of the hype. It is still pretty darn full and it has fully expired on me. I just couldn't get myself to use it. It's not that it's like a bad product, it just wasn't life-changing. I have other lip masks that I prefer more than this. I kind of felt like this was on the thinner side and I prefer something a little bit thicker, but also that I wake up and I actually feel like my lips are hydrated. I did not feel like this did that. It just seemed like an okay product. And of course, you know, Laneige is a fairly high price point. So this just didn't do it for me in terms of like getting the hype that it got. I just don't know that it deserved it. I have other lip masks in my collection that I just feel like hydrate my little lippies a little bit better than this one. So there's a good ton of product left in it. I just couldn't get through it. It's already smelling like this is totally expired. So I'm gonna have to let it go. I don't have any other lip mask I think I've ever let go before. So the next one is also a skincare item. It is the Glow Recipe Watermelon Dewdrop, Niacinamide Dewdrops. These are okay. They have a ton of hype. They've gotten a ton of hype as being like glowy and beautiful on the skin. These were totally trending on social media. It's supposed to be a breakthrough multi-use highlighting serum that hydrates and visibly reduces the look of hyperpigmentation for a dewy reflective glow without mica, glitter, or gray cast. It's supposed to be good for dryness and dullness. It's good for normal dry combination and oily skin. So basically everybody. It has niacinamide, B3, hyaluronic acid, all great things, all things that I use in my serums, my skincare steps, things that I use by themselves or mixed together. So what this did for me was it left my skin glowy for like half a millisecond. It wasn't like it lasted. And also I have hyperpigmentation around my eyes. Don't ask me why. It started to develop when I got a little bit older. So I usually like put concealer out here. This I have in my current skincare rotation right now. A little bit of product is basically all you need. So I'm about here right now. This doesn't seem to get rid of my hyperpigmentation. Like it doesn't do anything for my hyperpigmentation. It might brighten some of my dullness, and that's kind of nice. But this is also supposed to have like niacinamide is supposed to hydrate and certain things that like lock in moisture. When I use this, I was using it to combat some of my oils because this seems to dry my skin out personally. So I wasn't using this product at all to hydrate. I was using it like mostly on my nose and in my T-zone to really combat my oils. I would definitely use this in the mornings when I knew it was gonna be like a sweatier day here in Florida. And I only started doing that because I noticed that this started to dry me out. So like on days that I was more dry because the weather is cooler, like especially now, and I was kind of like seeing dryness around my nose, and then I was putting this on, it was having a negative effect. So this just doesn't work for me. And I honestly, like even if it didn't dry me out, I just don't get the hype for this. And also it retails for $35. I just kind of feel like even though it's a nice bottle and all of that, it's basically niacinamide, right? Niacinamide and hyaluronic acid, which you can get from the Inky List for really cheap. You don't need Glow Recipe. And without it like giving me anything extra that it claims to, I just don't think it's worth the $35 price point. You guys tell me if you think I'm nuts. Now, let's move into complexion products. I only have one foundation. One that I think got an immense amount of hype in 2023 because it is a newer foundation and it did launch this year. This is the Haus Labs Triclone Skin Tech Foundation. I don't think it's a bad product. I just don't think it works for for me. I think that a lot of people hyped this up, and I don't know if it was like just an immense amount of advertisement or if it was just really good for people. I just kind of felt like it was heavy on my skin. It just felt like I was wearing foundation. It never perfected my skin. It actually seemed to add texture to my face. It just seemed like a really heavy foundation. I just didn't get the hype around this. I have tested hundreds of foundations and I have so many other ones that just work better for me. If it didn't work, for example, because I was too combo or oily skinned, or I had too dry skin and it was a more mattifying foundation, like that I could understand not working for every skin type. But for me, emphasizing texture and feeling heavy is basically a universal thing. Like that anybody could have or experience. It doesn't matter what your skin type is. So I don't know why this gets the hype that it does. I don't think it's a bad product per se, but it's not a great product, if that makes sense. I don't get the hype around this whatsoever. I have one concealer. I feel like this one is definitely going to be a hot take for a lot of people, and that's fine. That's okay. That's this whole video. It is the Kosas Revealer Concealer. It's like got a long name, brightening and super like blendable, super creamy plus brightening revealer concealer. That's the full name of this. When I first got it, it was when it was brand new. It was a brand new product and it had just launched. So I want to say it was like 2 years ago at this point. It could have been 3. I'm losing track of time, honestly. Their shade range was terrible. I had such a hard time shade matching myself. I ended up getting a shade that was too yellow. So I figured I needed to get a cooler tone shade to match myself now. But back then, I didn't remember loving the formula. I didn't remember it being like amazing. But you know, memory is such a fickle thing. So I picked it up in a cool tone to get away from what potentially was another warmer toned like yellow leaning shade. So I got this one in 2.5C and it's also yellow leaning. I don't know why I feel like the Kosas line just comes out really yellow, but in those two shades, I literally get the same results. I cannot seem to find a shade that's more like neutral or not yellow. And I want to say that the other shade that I got was neutral. My experience with this plus their Revealer foundation, which also was super yellow on me, I just feel like their line is super yellow. Now, let's talk about the formula. Everybody says this is such a great creamy formula. The thing is, under my under eyes, it's super lightweight and it's very blendable. But then it starts to get drier as the day goes on. I have tried this without powdering my under eyes and it will settle into my fine lines more and more and more as the day goes on. And it looks crepey. It's not as bad as some of my concealers that immediately just dry out my under eyes, but it's not great either. It's not a hydrating concealer. Not for me personally. I just don't get the hype around this. I gave it a 2-time shot. I'm done. This just doesn't wow me. Let's talk about a powder. We're moving right along. I feel like this one is gonna be a really hot take too. Like most of these. Well, some of them you guys may agree with, but then some of them, you know, I might not be winning brownie points. Just for me personally, you guys, it's okay if it works for you and you love it. There's plenty of things that work for me that nobody likes. That's just the way makeup goes. So the next one that I have is a powder from Huda Beauty. This one's just a mini, but this is her Baby Baked Loose Baking and Setting Powder in Pound Cake. You guys, this has so much hype. It's had hype. It's got a lot of hype now. Everyone says it's a blurring, smoothing powder that really sets down their makeup, that also doesn't look super cakey on the skin. For me personally, when I had dry skin, it was too heavy. Now that I have oily skin, I don't feel like it overly sets me. And I never noticed it overly blurring. And I want to mention, there are a ton of powders on the market that I have tried, decluttered, kept, ton that I really like. I just feel like this doesn't stack up to some of my favorites. This just reminds me of a powder that performs like a lot of other very standard powders. It just doesn't stand out to me. I just don't get the hype. And I don't think it works for everybody. Like I said, when I had dry skin, not that great. When I had oily skin, also not that great. So I think that it probably has a preferred skin type that it works best for, I want to say. But like, I can't figure it out. I don't know. I just don't get the hype around this, you guys. There are some in my collection that are super beautiful and more finely milled, I would say. This one, it doesn't do it for me. Let's move right along to blush. I'm gonna get slaughtered for this. That's okay. Don't worry, I'll be fine. The first one that I have is the Dior Backstage Rosy Glow Blush in 001 Pink. No. Let's talk about the shade first. The shade was the thing that got it so much hype, because at the time when Dior came out with this, there probably wasn't a lot of people reaching for shades like this. There probably wasn't a lot of companies making shades like this. And it was such a trendy, viral, cool tone pink shade that everyone was buying this because they were one of the few to make it in like mainstream market. I never got along with shades like this because I think that I personally looked flushed and sick. I tried it with this blush first, but it was definitely the hype that got me to buy it. Now, I'm gonna say I am a pretty big fan of Dior Backstage products. Actually, just Dior products in general. Like, I actually have like some of my holy grails just sitting right here. Concealer is one of my holy grails. The Backstage foundation was my holy grail. I don't know about the reformulation, but anyway. But I felt like this formula fell flat for me. It was dry too. Like the top of it was really hard. So you really had to like dig into the pan to get through that like Dior print to get a softer formula, but still I felt like it was like just on the chalky side. Like this isn't what I would consider like a smooth, silky formula either. So aside from shade that made this go viral, as a ton of other companies were coming out with shades like this because they knew it was super popular, I just felt like this formula did not stack up against other creamier formulas. I've made a pretty big like impression in the center at this point, like past the Dior stamping. And so I feel like it's definitely gotten softer, but still, I just don't get the hype around a $40 blush that is this small, that is like this kind of chalky to me. I didn't get it, you guys. I am so sorry. I also don't love the shade. I feel like everybody was loving the shade. It didn't matter what like skin complexion you had. Fair skin, like everyone was loving this. And I was over here like, you cannot get me to wear that shade. So I don't see the hype, you guys. I have to talk about these. I would be remiss if I didn't. I am a huge fan of Rare Beauty. I mean, I'm just a fan of Selena. So, and you know, in essence, therefore, I am a fan of Rare Beauty. I don't know that a lot of her products work for me, but I have some in my collection that I love. Her highlighters are fantastic. I haven't gotten along with a ton of other things, but her more recent release in the brow product department, I really do enjoy. I think she needs to work on the shade range, but otherwise, I think that it's a really good product. But these blushes never worked for me. These are the soft pinch blushes. I don't know what else they're called. Soft pinch liquid blushes. I have Joy and Grace. These were some of the original shades that launched. And for the longest time, I couldn't tell if they were the dewy finish or the matte finish because some of hers, depending upon what shade you get, they're different finishes. The reason that I don't like these, not because I'm not into intense pigmentation, but they look so freaking flat on my cheeks. These dry down to a matte finish for me. I don't see any radiance. They were super one-dimensional. And I think maybe part of that was like the way that I was applying them too. But also, I've perfected the way that I treat application for blushes like this. I used to just dot them straight onto my cheeks, and that's gonna give you intense pigmentation, and it can look flat if you're applying like just a really thick, heavy, opaque layer of blush. But with these, I started to, as I'm doing with all liquid blushes now, is apply like an even layer to the back of my hand. And then I'm taking a damp sponge and I'm literally tapping in the flattest side of the sponge and applying to my cheeks. Not only does that soak up some of the product, it diffuses it out. I feel like it kind of helps when it has a dewy finish to really help the dewiness like apply to the cheeks well, like without soaking it up, but it's not like sticky. It doesn't leave it sticky. I feel like that's been a successful way to apply blushes like this. So I've tried to do that method with these more recently. They still look very flat on my cheeks. I just can't get them to look right. I just don't get the hype around these. I feel like the more recent releases that are very similar to this, like the Juvia's Place and the Moira Beauty ones, I just feel like they did it a little bit better. The pigmentation is just not intense. They just have a little bit more like emollients to them, and they're just a tiny bit more sheer, and you can definitely see the dewiness in each of those. I just don't see it in these, you guys. I can't get along with the hype. I'm so sorry. I have two highlighters here. One of them I'm sure I'm gonna get flack for. So the first one is the Dior Backstage. This is the Glow Face Palette, and I wanna say it's 002 Glitz. You guys, I bought this entirely because of the hype. I hate it. I not only think that it's not good, I just don't like it. I don't understand it. Everybody says this is a really smooth formula. Like it looks super smooth on the cheeks. Honestly, this looks like a gritty, glittery mess to me. Like there's nothing smooth about this formula. Like once it gets to my cheeks, I feel like it either one, diffuses into nothing, or this yellow one has a lot of texture. I feel like the peach one is the softest of them all. Here, let me swatch the peach one. Like the peach I could get down with. And then this one down here, of course, won't work for me. So I have basically played with the 3 lighter shades in here. I just don't get it. For what this particular palette costs, I don't see why everyone loved it. I don't think it was a good formula. I feel like Dior has done so much better that why pick this one when I just feel like it's a super gritty formula. Like not smooth, basically like suspended sparkles in the yellow one. I like the palette for this shade, but I don't love its formula like over the others. I don't like its finish over the others. I don't get the hype around this, you guys, and I think it's way too expensive. And for a face palette like that, I feel like I want to be able to use every single shade, not go, that one's not formulated the same, or that one's not going to work on my skin tone for something this price point. I'm sure there's a lot of people that disagree because that is a super viral product and it seems like everybody loves it but me. So I'm just over here by myself. I have one more highlighter. This is way on the affordable side, but it's the Essence Pure Nude Highlighter. Ton of hype around these, I want to say 2 years ago. I want to say that's when they launched. It might have been sooner and they just started getting hype at that point. This is weird. Like weird that anyone would pick this because it came in Be My Highlight. Like it came in one shade, you guys. And why this one? It doesn't look like a highlighter. It's kind of too deep for a fair skin tone, right? Like this always looked a little bit gray on my cheeks. It's basically like this pinky peachy champagne. Like it's all those colors in one. That's not a normal highlighter shade for someone with fair skin. And I feel like, where does it go? Why was everyone hyping over an almost nothing finish? Like, I didn't get it. I bought it because of the hype. I don't use it because of the formula. It's too light. There's just nothing to it for me. And if I'm gonna wear a highlighter, I feel like I wanna wear a highlighter. Otherwise, why not just wear a shimmery blush? I don't get the hype around this one, you guys. You guys let me know whether you agree with me on that or not. Let's move on into a contour. I have one contour here. This is the Hollywood Contour Wand in the fair to medium. I'm not gonna say that this is a bad product. I have had this product in my collection for a while. This is currently in my project pan. However, what I will say is the shade is terrible, and I have been saying this for years. A contour shade made for light skin tones should be lighter than this, in my personal opinion. Like, I'm trying to get some swatch out for you. And you should never, in my opinion, make a contour shade that's made for anyone fair to medium. How can you make a jump so big and expect it to work? Only other one that's like this is maybe the Huda Beauty Tantour, but I don't think my Tantour is as deep as this shade. This always looked super bad on my skin. I love the formula though, super blendable. I think you can really shear this out if you want to, like go in with a little bit of product. So the formula makes it a better product to use for a jump in the shade from fair to medium, if that makes sense. But it's just too deep, I think. It's just a muddy mess. Not patchy, just a muddy kind of mess. So I just got done telling you guys I put this in my project pan because I am currently trying to use it up. One of the reasons is because I probably won't repurchase this because contouring is not something that I typically do, but I have been using this entirely under my foundation. So I have been like under painting with this product, and I feel like that is the only time that I can get away with using it for a fair skin tone. So don't get the hype. She doesn't make more than, what, 2 shades in this? And I just think that's not enough for a contour. That's my personal opinion, so I don't understand the full-on hype for it. Now I want to talk about a mascara, and this next one could be like potentially stretching it, but I don't think it got like a ton of hype. I just think that everybody that I see talk about it says that they like it. So it's not necessarily that it like went viral per se, but that nobody says they don't like it, if that makes sense. So this is the e.l.f. Lash and Roll. I don't get it. It's not even necessarily a formula thing. It's like a pigmentation thing. Like, where is the pigment? I barely see it show up on my lashes at all. And it's a clean lash. Like, it's very feathery and light, but like light being the operative word. It just doesn't even show up. And maybe that's what people like about it. but I just feel like I build and I build and I build and I look like I have baby lashes. I don't get the hype around it. It's not something that's better than a run-of-the-mill mascara. I know this was supposed to be a dupe to the Benefit Roller Lash. Again, the Benefit Roller Lash was super light. I did not like that product either, and I really didn't like this one. What I will say about this is that it's a step up from the Benefit Roller Lash in my personal opinion. I like it better than Benefit, but I don't like either of them. So yeah, just not enough intensity for me, especially with somebody with super fine hair. And my lashes are super light colored. Even though my hair is darker, my lashes are like straight blonde. So I don't even see them at all if I'm not applying like a pretty pigmented mascara. So this already isn't my style, but just doesn't give me hardly anything anyway. I just didn't understand why everybody else liked it. I have one lip product and it's gonna have to go to Dior again because you know Dior just gets a ton of hype around a lot of their products. This one I've had in my collection for a while. It's not their most hyped lip product. It's just one that's like on the bestsellers list, like off and on Sephora's website. And I've heard people talk about it before. It's the Lip Glow Color Reviver Balm. I don't think I bought this because of the hype. I think I bought it way before I knew there was hype around it, and I got it in stores. I like the shade. What shade is this? It's like a mauve shade. Rosewood, which is a pretty popular shade of theirs. And I swatched it in stores, and because I like a lot of Dior stuff, I was like, oh, I'm gonna get this. But you guys, as far as like balms go, this is so irrelevant in the world of balms. I have so many other affordable balms. This formula does not stand out to me. In fact, I think it's a super hard formula. It's like not smooth. It's like kind of patchy. It's a really hard formula. It doesn't have any real characteristics about it that I feel make it a standout product. In fact, just the opposite. The minute I put this on, I got back in the car after buying it. I put it on and I was like, oh dang, that is stiff. That was my first reaction to putting on this product. It hasn't softened up. Because there are just a ton of other ones on the market, because my initial reaction to this just wasn't great, and because it still isn't, I don't get it. I don't get the hype. I don't get it, you guys. I am so sorry. And the very final product is a hair care product. And I'm throwing this in last because I've used it. It's totally done. I don't have it in my collection to show you guys anymore. But it is the Olaplex No. 3 and No. 4 shampoo. They're both a little bit different. I think one is the Bond Maintenance. I've tried both of them. They are $30 bottles for 3.3 fluid ounces. I don't understand what the hype is around Olaplex. I have also used their No. 5 conditioner as well. None of those work really well for me. I don't see my hair being smoother, less frizzy, less dry. I basically don't see anything. And for 3.3 fluid ounces for $30, if you guys do that math backwards, especially for something that I just don't feel like did anything for me. I have way less expensive products that are still vegan, free of sulfates, that give my hair more hydration, that are less than 30 bucks. I don't see the hype around Olaplex. I'm gonna leave it on that note. That is all I had today for all of the hot takes. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I'd love to hear in the comments whether or not you guys agree with me or whether or not you think I'm just absolutely nuts. Also, please let me know if you would love to see a video of all the viral products that I do in fact love and do in fact work for me. I would love to make a video about that as well. I am out of here for today, you guys, and I hope to catch you all in my next video. Bye.